Cleaning Nation, this episode is taken from some coaching calls that Mike did with our clients that we thought would bring tons of value to you. We hope you enjoy. And now on to the show.
All right, Adon, and it says Adon and Ruthie, but I just see Adon. Let me hit you the two questions that you have here, and then we'll happy to talk about the other. So number one, I've been suggested that averaging travel time for cleaners is a better idea instead of tracking every minute of their travel time. That is a suggestion I would make. Love that. We want to implement it, but I don't know how to go about it. We already average their miles as basically the same process. Yeah. The only different, and again, I'm giving business advice, not legal. Obviously, if it's not legal, do whatever you got to do. Don't break the law. I don't know what the law is in your state. Okay. So from a business standpoint, how I would do it, as long as it's legal in my state, is I would just average every trip everywhere. And if it was like 13 miles, I'm just going to pay everyone 15 miles. So basically, and again, mileage only goes for the driver, but time goes to both people, both their time. So the driver is going to get paid 15 miles if it averages 13, and say it takes them 15 minutes, I might pay them 18 for everybody. So it's just a flat fee. Like if you're the driver, and then I'm just going to take their wage. You just be like, all right, at $20 an hour, 15 minutes, that's $8. Boom. You just, if you're not driving, you get $8. If you're driving, you get $12 or whatever the mileage would be.
Okay.
And the benefit to them, if they're like, why are we doing this? Is like, because I'm not your goddamn babysitter. And if you want to stop and have a smoke or get a Coke or stop by your house and I don't know, whatever y'all want to do, as long as your partner's cool with it. If it takes a half hour to go between houses, that's fine. I'm not here to pay you for that or like bully you into doing anything. Did I answer your question about how to actually execute, or did I miss?
No, you did. So that's exactly what I talked to one of my employees today. I gotta make it an official thing. So I guess the question is, should I average the time to one house from a central point, or how do I go about it? Because sometimes they're driving from another house and like it's not
right now. Are you paying exact times?
Yes.
Oh, easy peasy. Then just literally count how many switches they did. Say, over the last week, they went 17 switches, and then divide the number of minutes total. And that's your average.
What is that switch? What do you mean?
From one house to another. So if you're there's a total of 300 minutes, and there were 7 times they went from one house to another, 300 divided by 7. That's how long it takes. You see what I'm saying? Like just take the total divided by how many trips there were. That will be your average.
Okay.
And
Cool.
I have my accountant do that because I'm lazy.
Okay. So I have Grateful do that for me?
I'd ask her. I'll bet you she says yes if you ask nice.
Okay, cool. All right.
Just make sure she gets it. And by the way, what I always do is just be reasonable for humans. Like, if this is going to take 10, 20 minutes, I'm going to ask.
It's probably going to be easy for me. Yeah, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I can check.
Yeah. If it's going to take you longer to explain it and check it, make sure it's right, then do it yourself. But if it's, okay, cool. But you feel good, you can make, and I wouldn't tell employees one by one. I would just tell them at the weekly meeting.
Yeah. I'm going to tell them next week for sure, official to everyone.
Cool. Question 2. We want to make our weekly meetings more effective. Any ideas on how to improve our culture, reinforce core values? Yeah. Every meeting that's a weekly meeting, I would start with core values. So I try to be the leader. Hey, Patty, I saw you being real. Like, I know you didn't have a good day on Wednesday and it was really cool. I know, you're fighting your other or whatever the heck it was. And I just thought it was really cool that you just shared with us and didn't try and be fake. And then Sean, man, I saw how extra fun you were her partner that day, and you were like extra sweet and fun. And I know that I just wanted to let you know I appreciate that. You guys, what have you seen? Who's living and rocking the core values? So I'm just going to have like a 5-minute discussion. And when you start doing it, they're excited and they want to share more than you do. So you shouldn't always have to get them started. But for the first couple of weeks, I'm going to kind of model it. And then hopefully they just start celebrating. Kind of how we do celebrations here. You would do that just with core values.
Okay. Because I started with celebrations, but sometimes it's like, they're like, oh, I'm happy to be alive. And I'm like, well, that's great. But what, like, I don't know. I want it to be more tangible and
so yes, and not no but. So I'm happy to be alive. No. What we want, Adon, is this.
Right.
Awesome celebration. Great job. When you say you're happy to be alive, tell me about that. Like what specific are you happy? Just kind of almost like the reverse pain coverage. Why? Well, tell me, why is your life great?
Okay. Reverse pain conversation. That's fine. Okay.
And the thing is, Adon, it's really the energy for all of you guys. It's the energy you bring to the meetings. So if I'm like, all right, guys, core values. Who's got one? That is a bear, right? So me just showing up, having fun, making money, being real and helping out, like kind of at a 12. And if they're your core values, you're going to show up with them at an 8 anyway. You're just at the team meetings, just like when you're on stage. Like if I'm speaking to you one-on-one, I might have one level of energy. If I'm speaking in front of a virtual group like this, I might turn it up 20% just to be able to communicate it. If I'm on stage in front of 100 people, I might turn it up 40%. If I'm on stage in front of 1,000 people, I'm going to turn it up 200%. So just, it's not like you're not being you. You're just being just how you be on stage. You're still going to be at dawn, but you're like, I have to kind of get this, because you are on stage. It's a small stage, but you're still on stage. That makes, so the energy is much more important.
Totally.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense a lot. Okay, thanks.
Cool.
And then my last question. So I went on 4 walkthroughs last week, additionally of what I closed, and everyone told me yes, but I don't have anything to sign them up right there and then. So I'm trying to figure out how to because they say yes, and then like later that day they're like, oh, actually we're gonna take a look into something else. Or so when they commit, I know as soon as they commit and as soon as they get some value from us, they're gonna love it because we do a really good job. But some of these people, they're like, oh, let me actually think, or they talk to a spouse or whatever. Like, it's not that they're telling me, hey, let me just talk to my wife or let me talk to my husband. No, they're like, okay, let's go ahead and do this. And then I go home and then I send them a service agreement, and then it just like gets lost in the weeds. So
there we go. So
how do I do that right there and then?
One, you said it perfectly. Once we give them some value, I know they're going to be super happy. So the right question is half the solution, and that is the perfect question. So all we have to do is find a way to give them value quicker. The service agreement is the opposite of value. It's a chore. It's a pain in the ass. Like, oh, I don't, they don't have any desire. There's no value in them to serve it. It's just, And so before you give any value, you're asking for a favor, right? Or not really a favor, but asking them to do something as opposed to serving them. So obviously the quicker you get them on the calendar, the better. Like when we enroll someone, our standard is to have them on their phone with we give them action items right then so that we believe will give them value. B, we book a call with their coach for the next day. So we don't want it to be a week from now. We want it to be tomorrow. And then C, we give them access to a bunch of stuff. So what that would look, and we get very, very, very few people going backwards. So what that could look like for you is, and I'm just gonna give you a bunch of ideas to get your brain going, and you pick the ones you like, not like I'm gonna do exactly what Mike says because this is perfect. But if I were in your shoes, I would probably have a little gift in the car that might, can't be personalized, but whatever. I'm definitely gonna, to the best of my ability, get them on the calendar tomorrow or the next business day. Gift in the car, and that gift might have a little cleaner thing or just something that they're going to get value from right away or feel good about. And if you give them a gift today and then they're on a schedule tomorrow, you're good to go, man. Like I don't know what else.
So that gift will be like for people who actually sign up, or for everyone? It's not going to be for every walkthrough, right?
No, just to be able to sign up.
Sign up. Okay. I'm having trouble like trying to figure out what I can give. And
there's a ton of stuff. You could give them a t-shirt. You could give them a book on serenity. You can give them candles. You can give them a certificate to family out. You could have, there's a ton of things. You just think of who you're selling to and what would make them happy.
Oh, cool. I like that.
You could partner with, because again, Robert Cialdini's, I actually just referred this book to Vernetta. His book Influence talks about the reciprocity. Oof. I don't know why it was so tough for me. Reciprocity. It's easy once you say it, but beforehand I was like, I know I said that word. Thank you, Andrew. Andrew's like, I got you, baby. I know words are hard sometimes, Mike. Good thing I don't talk for a little bit. I'd be screwed. When you give something to somebody, it's a lot harder for them once they've gotten a gift to be like, screw you. Right. Just changes the dynamic. So like branded hand sanitizer, I think someone said that in the chat. It's fine, but just really what is it that they would want? It's just something that gives them immediate value, makes them feel better.
Nice.
Any gift you like, test different stuff. But I think the combination of doing that and getting them on the schedule for tomorrow before because now they're double guilty. Oh, I got this gift and they're on the schedule tomorrow. So like if it's next week, it's like, oh, he can just change the schedule. It's no big deal. But it's like, oh, he's got the people and they're already coming. It's just a lot of momentum's already going to get value.
Okay. So with the weekly one that I had yesterday, I got it on the schedule for Friday, which is again 2 days. So it's probably not as soon as we should have. But that's the day they asked.
So I'm not going to ask them when you want to be like, fantastic, we can get you on the schedule tomorrow. You want the early shift or the late shift? Or do you want to do the first house or the second house?
And I was thinking, that's where floaters come in handy, right? Is that right? Like having enough people having floaters to be able to pick up that shift. Like tomorrow, if I already have like 2 properties tomorrow, I can bring in 2 floaters in to take care of that one account that's going to be extra tomorrow. Is that? Well, of course, like whenever someone
working interview, 2 floaters. If it's a smaller house, you can put 3 smaller houses on a schedule for somebody. If it's a bigger house,
right,
definitely floaters. But yeah, you'll want to have some sort of system in place for that. And I'm okay if it costs a little extra to get them on. If my churn rate goes down by 20-30% and it costs me an extra $500 a month in labor, which it shouldn't, I'd still make that trade every time.
Well, and I don't think it's going to cost me on labor because it's going to be a house that we're going to do. I'm not offering those for free, but they're not even getting an offer. These are just regular customers.
Yeah, but if it's a floater who you're paying extra, or you have to incentivize.
Oh, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I did have to, I'm not saying I would want to or have to, but I'm saying if that was the cost because I had to pay extra, I chose to pay extra to make it easy, I would pay that cost. I'm not saying you have to pay that cost. I'm just trying to let you know, decreased churn we're in is a big deal.
Well, and the situation is that I don't have any floaters for this, so I need to hire at least 2 floaters for every. Is it 1 floater for every 5 people?
Yeah, that's a rule of thumb. It's not like it has to be exactly that, but I would want to have a floater anywhere always, but after I've got more than 5 people, generally a floater for every 5. Yeah, I would just overhire. If you've got your hiring funnel going, that's fine. And most of your clients should be cool. Especially if you've got a lot the next day, if you're like, hey, can I have you the second appointment as the first instead of the first appointment, or you can call someone off. That's where you give them extra money. It's just setting it up. So if you're like, exactly how do I do it? I'm like, however you want to do it's fine. But the real question I'm hearing is, hey, am I going to have to make some fulfillment, some allowances for that on how I handle my scheduling? Yes. So I would just get with my scheduler and be like, hey, we want this standard to be here. How do we do that?
Okay. Cool. Sounds good, man.
All right. Love that question. And Claire, I know you just jumped in. He was just saying, hey, he had a couple people that quit fairly quickly after. And I know you're having a little of that, but more just like they quit sooner than later. And I just said, hey, try and get them on the schedule tomorrow. And if we're having people that are having buyer's remorse and quitting, I would spend the extra time and money to build that system, and then maybe leave a $30-$40 gift that they would find of value. Makes it a lot harder for them to leave. And it's just giving more value. Last thing is, you had mentioned it on, you give them the agreement. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what's legal or not legal, but if, for the way we do it, we just run the person's card because they tell us to run their card. It's not like we're, going to their wallet and grabbing their card and running it. They just literally said, yeah, that's fine. So we don't have them sign the agreement until after. So if I couldn't have them sign like a agreement right then and there, like on an iPad or something or whatever, I'm gonna do it before I give some value. That wouldn't be the next thing I talk to them about. That's for goddamn sure.
So give them the value, give them the gift, and then run their card right there, and then try to run it right there, and then eventually do stuff at the beginning.
Yeah, I would run the card right there once they run the card. And again, my agreement would be super like, I'm so excited, my life's going to be better. Yeah, it's going to be agreement that makes them feel. Yeah. So yeah, I'm certainly not going to leave, give them no gift, give them no value, and they'd be like, hey, sign this agreement. Like that. It's not the end of the world, but you can see where that's not the best value for them.
Okay, cool. I'll do that. Thanks.
Yeah, love that question, brother. Hey, Clean Nation, Mike Campion here. One of my least favorite things about these podcasts are we found that people love the show and they love the information, but when I talk to you guys in person, stuff doesn't get done. People love the podcast, but they don't take any action. If you'd like to actually implement this and get this done in your world, we have a whole team of people that do exactly that. If you go to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk, you can book a time with either myself personally or one of our teammates to at least help you come up with a plan to actually implement and change your life. So if you want to go from getting these good ideas in your head to getting in your life, just book a free call with myself or my team, growmycleaningcompany.com/talk. And we can go from this one-to-many format to one-to-one and really get you some results. Excited to talk. All right, question. I'm having a hard time figuring out on the spot how much to charge for the first time clean and how much it is per cleaner per month. Okay, well, let me read the whole thing. I'm either overcharging or undercharging. No, you could be charging right on. Give yourself that at least possibility. I try to look at the house before going to meet with them and see the square foot, somehow figure out the price that way. I use bonus sheets and I'm just having a hard time figuring out the amount of hours. Good. Okay, so honestly, I'm going to just give you a concept and then I'll let you, even in the chat, if I can, get with the other people, because that estimating process is not I don't do a ton of it. And there's a ton of people who be like, you can just buy the square foot and blah, 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 blah. But again, with two people, the quickest they're going to typically get a house done is like an hour and a half would be very, 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 very quick. And 3 hours would be like, unless it's, over like 3,500, unless it's an unusually big house. So you really don't have that many, you're not going to be off by an hour and a half a clean, right? You might be off by, because you've cleaned and you can just be like, well, if I was doing it by myself, how long would it take me? I'd add 20, if I think it's going to take me 3.5 hours to clean, I'm like 4 hours it is. 2 girls, 2 hours, wada bing, wada bang. And just for everybody, and I feel like I've said this a couple ways over the last couple weeks, just add some, because every week there's going to be, well, there's training, or well, I paid this guy extra because there's a floater, or this guy, whatever, and this guy was slow. And there's always going to be something. So bid it, just assuming we live in the real world and real things happen. And so, like I said, I would, if it's going to take me 3.5 hours, I'm going to add a whole half hour, like 4 hours, maybe even 4 hours and 15 minutes, just to be sure. And then if you way overbid, either you make a ton of profit, or you, can just be like, hey, I overbid, it's a little cheaper. Or you can do extra stuff for free. If you underbid, you can just raise the price. Not a big deal. So again, feel free to, I don't want to have a big, but in the next level channel, you can go, hey, residential people, how do you guys estimate time? But sincerely, you shouldn't be off by more than a half hour. And if you're not sure, kick it up to the top, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
I know it's not a very specific answer, but again, that's how I would literally, if I started going on appointments today, I would just make it up for the first 2 or 3, look at if I was right or wrong, and then fix that data. And then I would have it by the time I hit 8, 9 houses, I would have it. And since you've already done cleaning, you probably already got more clients than that. It shouldn't be all that tricky.
It makes sense, because it was almost never takes hour and a half. It usually takes like at least 2 hours to get one house.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't assume any
small
house would take 2 people less than an hour and a half, like just unreasonable. Cool.
Okay.
Was that the only question you had? Yeah.
Yes, that's like because I started going to people's houses more and doing bids again, and I'm just like, this is kind of stressing me out. Okay.
Just give yourself permission to mess up, and that's why I have a customer profitability. Like, here's what it does. And then you can ask your accountant to be like, you could even put in a system, hey, for the first 2 or 3 cleans, anytime we do anything, give me a report on what it says in the customer profitability and what we actually paid. And then you can just have that running report, and you watch that for 5, 10 jobs, you'll get very, very good at it.
Okay. Sounds good.
And then the other thing that you mentioned was on the first clean. Again, I'm all about the lifetime value of something. So for all of you guys that do the marketing, you're like, I want to charge, $67 or a free clean isn't enough at the beginning. It's like, if your people stay an average of 2 years, and many of you should have clients that stay much longer, like Don, like on the commercial side, it's not unusual to have a client say 5 or 10 years. But on the resident, just say conservative, it's 2 years and your average client's $400, it's almost $10,000. So if we charge nothing for the first clean, or $200 for the first clean, or $300 for the first clean, amortized over a $10,000 lifetime value, what are we doing? We're saving Nick was like, I got an extra $50 to do the first clean. It's like, yeah, but if you lose one $10,000 job lifetime value client for that $50, that was the most expensive $50 ever. So I personally don't do any with you guys. When we first start you, it's a lot more money at the beginning to onboard. I'm like, I'm not worried about what we make or lose today. It's the lifetime value of the client. So I'm here for the relationship, not for I've got to make a nickel right now.
So you want to charge more the first clean?
And I'm not judging you or saying you're a bad person or it's a terrible idea, because it's common. I'm just saying I wouldn't do it, because again, I'm looking for the lifetime value of the client. And even if you're like, well, some of them leave in 3 months. Yeah, but some of them stay 5 years. So that we're looking for if the average client's worth 10 grand.
That is eye-opening. Thank you. I didn't think of it that way. Thank you so much.
One of the biggest levers we have in this industry that I think people overlook is recurring revenue. Like that's why I'm so hard on one-time cleans. It's not bad. It's just like, good Lord, man. Like the recurring revenue is just, it's such a big lever, So we just want to leverage that to all we can. Okay. In the chat, Adon says, what if ROI gets down to 50 to 100% for the first month? Would that still be okay since the lifetime value is way over 500%? I love that question. It really just has to do with your cash ability. So if that's my only lead source and I'm tight on cash, that is not okay. Because keep in mind, there's a couple things at play. Thing one, you should be charging in advance. So if you're doing net 30, net 60, that's really going to cost you money on the commercial side. If you're residential and you're only doing it when you clean, your first month ROI is going to get even smaller from a cash standpoint. But if you're billing in advance, like, okay, you're on $600 for the month, boom, ran your card. Your first month ROI, I just do it from the revenue, but we understand you don't get to keep all that revenue. So say I sign up someone for $500, I charge them today. It costs me $500. I'm whole, right? Say my ROI is exactly 100%. Cost me $500 to get the client. They pay me $500. So say I start spending in Facebook ads and it costs me $500. I'm in the whole $500, but I'm not going to be with residential. At least the sales cycle is so short. I'm in the hole for $500, but I run their card 3 days later or a week later when I sign them up. Boom, I'm back at zero again. But I've got a new recurring client for free. And then every time you do a cleaning, you're negative again. So the second month is when you're really boom. Now I'm fully profitable forever. So it's really just a cash flow standpoint. If I had money and I had a 70% ROI month one, I'm all day on that. And also it's like, do I want that to be all of my lead sources? No. But if I've got 2 or 3 lead sources that are 150, 200%, and then one that's at 75%, but consistent and good clients that stay a long time, it's just like it costs more all day long. So it's really just a cash flow problem. But yes, because lifetime value is so gosh darn good, like absolutely, as long as I can afford it, it's not going to kill me, I'll go negative. Hey, Cleaning Nation, if you dug the content you just got, we don't do any ads and I don't sell anything on this podcast, but if you would just subscribe, rate, and review, it would be huge and I'd be so appreciative. Not only is it going to help me, but you'll help other owners of cleaning companies across the world work less, make more, and get profitable. So if you appreciate the value we give, again, subscribe, rate, and review. It would mean the world to me. I'd really appreciate it. And we sure appreciate your time and attention.